This is the truth about success no one wants to admit. No one tells you this at the beginning. They sell you shortcuts, formulas, morning routines, and slogans because the truth is too heavy for most people to carry. The truth doesn't trend. The truth doesn't comfort. The truth doesn't sell dreams cheaply. And that truth is this: success does not come to the hopeful, it comes to the decided. Most people live their entire lives standing on the edge of their potential, staring at the distance between who they are and who they could become, telling themselves they will leap someday. Someday when conditions are perfect. Someday when confidence magically appears. Someday when fear quiets down. But someday never comes, because someday is not a decision. It is a delay dressed up as optimism. The world does not reward good intentions. It does not bow to wishful thinking. It does not respond to desire alone. Every great name you remember, Edison, Carnegie, Ford, Lincoln, Disney, understood something most people refuse to face. The mind must be conquered before the world ever is. Long before Edison lit a room, he sat in darkness, failing again and again, not because he was searching for success, but because he had already decided failure was irrelevant. Long before Carnegie controlled steel, he mastered a single idea. Sustained focus applied over time will bend reality itself. But here is what no one wants to admit. Success begins by burning the bridges behind you. It begins the moment retreat is no longer an option. Most people want success with an escape hatch. They want the reward without the risk, the victory without the vulnerability, the growth without the discomfort. They want to try. And that single word, try, is the quiet assassin of greatness. Trying keeps one foot in safety and one foot in possibility. Deciding plants both feet in the fire. This is where belief enters. Not belief as a feeling, but belief as a command. Belief is not something you wait to feel ready for. Belief is something you enforce. When Napoleon Hill wrote about faith, he was not describing blind optimism. He was describing mental discipline, the deliberate conditioning of the mind to accept a vision as inevitable, even when evidence argues otherwise. Your mind does not know the difference between a vividly held vision and a present reality. It responds to repetition, emotion, and conviction. That is why most people fail without ever understanding why. They rehearse defeat in their imagination daily. They visualize struggle. They expect rejection. They mentally practice losing before life ever asks the question. And then they wonder why the world mirrors back hesitation. Success demands clarity, and clarity is ruthless. It forces you to answer questions most people avoid their entire lives. What do you want? Not what sounds respectable. Not what others expect. Not what feels safe. What do you want badly enough to endure misunderstanding, isolation, and long seasons of visible failure? Because clarity eliminates excuses. When the destination is precise, wandering becomes impossible. Henry Ford was ridiculed not because his idea lacked merit, but because it threatened the mental comfort of those who could not see beyond the present moment. He was told it couldn't be done, not by fools, but by experts. And yet the truth about success is this: experts are often experts in the limits of yesterday. Vision belongs to those willing to offend the present with the future. Once clarity is established, discipline becomes non-negotiable. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in motion. It is the daily alignment between who you say you are becoming and what you repeatedly do when no one is watching. Most people associate discipline with restriction, but in reality, discipline is liberation. It frees you from the tyranny of mood, motivation, and circumstance. The successful do not wait to feel inspired. They act, and inspiration follows obedience to purpose. And here is another truth few will admit: action taken imperfectly will always outperform thought perfected endlessly. The graveyards of the world are filled with brilliant ideas that never moved. The libraries are full of plans never executed. The streets, however, were built by men and women who learned by doing, adjusted by failing, and refined by persistence. Persistence is not stubborn repetition. It is intelligent endurance. It is the ability to remain loyal to a vision while flexible in the method. Lincoln lost elections, businesses failed, reputations were shattered, yet he refined his resolve rather than abandoning it. He understood that adversity is not a sign to stop. It is a test to see if you are serious. And seriousness changes everything. Most people want reassurance before they commit. But success demands commitment before reassurance arrives. The evidence comes after the leap, not before. That is the price of entrance. Gratitude then becomes fuel, not for what has already arrived, but for what is unfolding. Gratitude sharpens perception. It trains the mind to see opportunity where others see inconvenience. Those who succeed do not curse change. They adapt faster than the resistance around them. They remain students when others become bitter experts. They learn, unlearn, and relearn, knowing that stagnation is the slowest form of failure. And as the world shifts, as challenges rise, as pressure increases, resilience becomes the final separator. Resilience is not the absence of doubt. It is the refusal to let doubt make decisions. It is standing firm when results lag behind effort, when silence replaces applause, when growth demands solitude. Because here is the final truth no one wants to admit: success will cost you your old identity. You cannot keep the habits, the excuses, the relationships, and the self-image that created your past and expect a different future. Transformation requires a death of the former self, and most people cling to familiarity even when it suffocates them. But if you are willing to let go, if you are willing to decide rather than try, if you are willing to command your mind, honor your vision, and endure the process, then success does not become a possibility. It becomes inevitable, and inevitability changes how you move through the world. When success is no longer a distant hope, but an internal certainty, your posture shifts. Your voice steadies. Your patience deepens. You stop explaining yourself to people who cannot see what you are building, because you finally understand that explanation is a form of seeking permission, and permission is something the destined never ask for. This is where most people break. Not because the work is too hard, but because the silence becomes too loud. There are seasons when effort produces no applause, when discipline brings no visible reward, when the only witness to your growth is your own conscience. And it is in these moments that the uncommitted retreat, telling themselves stories about timing, luck, or fairness. But the truth is harsher and far more empowering. Results lag behind identity. The world does not respond to who you wish to be. It responds to who you have decided to become and are willing to prove daily. The mind, once disciplined, becomes a weapon rather than a liability. Thoughts are no longer allowed to roam freely, unchecked, poisoning action with doubt. Instead, they are selected, shaped, and repeated with intention. You learn to interrupt weakness before it settles in, to replace hesitation with command, to speak to yourself with the authority of someone who knows the cost of failure and refuses to pay it again. This is not positive thinking. This is mental governance. Napoleon Hill understood that autosuggestion was not magic, it was conditioning. Just as a muscle responds to repeated tension, the mind responds to repeated instruction. What you consistently tell yourself under pressure becomes your default response when it matters most. Champions are not born with superior confidence. They build it brick by brick through disciplined inner dialogue. And once the inner world aligns, the outer world begins to rearrange itself. Opportunities appear not because the universe is generous, but because perception sharpens. You notice what others overlook. You hear signals hidden in noise. You recognize openings disguised as inconvenience. This is why two people can face the same circumstance and walk away with entirely different outcomes. One saw an obstacle, the other saw an invitation. Purpose then evolves from a vague desire into a guiding force. Purpose is not found, it is forged. It is carved out of struggle, refined through responsibility, and strengthened by service beyond the self. Those who chase success only for status burn out quickly, because vanity is a weak fuel. But those who attach their ambition to contribution develop an endurance that cannot be easily shaken. Andrew Carnegie did not amass wealth merely to possess it. He understood leverage, that money was a tool, influence a responsibility, and legacy a choice. Success matures when it stops asking, "What can I get?" and begins asking, "What can I build that outlives me?" That shift changes the weight you are willing to carry and the burdens you are willing to endure. Discipline deepens at this stage. It becomes quieter, less dramatic, almost invisible. No more motivational surges, no more emotional highs. Just consistency, just standards, just an unspoken refusal to betray the future you are constructing. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop romanticizing struggle. You do the work because it is who you are now, not because you are chasing a feeling. And when setbacks come, because they always do, resilience reveals its true form. Resilience is not resistance, it is responsiveness. It is the ability to absorb impact, extract the lesson, and continue forward without resentment. The resilient do not ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What now?" They convert pain into data and disappointment into direction. Failure, then, loses its power to intimidate. It becomes feedback, a signal, a course correction. Edison did not fail thousands of times. He eliminated thousands of ways that did not work. That perspective alone separates the builders from the quitters. One interprets delay as rejection. The other interprets it as refinement. Learning becomes continuous, not academic. You learn from experience, from observation, from error. You remain humble enough to adjust, yet confident enough not to abandon your core vision. Adaptability keeps you relevant. Rigidity breaks you. The world changes whether you agree with it or not, and those who survive are not the strongest. They are the most responsive to change. And through it all, gratitude anchors you. Not the shallow gratitude of comfort, but the deep gratitude for struggle, for pressure, for the opportunity to be tested. Gratitude reframes hardship as proof that you are in the arena, no longer a spectator watching others live boldly while you remain safe. This is when something irreversible happens. You stop longing for the old life. You no longer fit in spaces that once felt familiar. Conversations feel shallow. Excuses sound foreign. You are not better than others. You are simply no longer aligned with who you used to be. And that is the cost most people refuse to pay. Because success is not additive, it is subtractive. It removes what is weak, false, and unnecessary. It strips away illusions and replaces them with responsibility. It demands that you become someone capable of holding what you asked for. And when you finally understand this, when you stop wishing and start becoming, when you trade comfort for commitment and hope for execution, you no longer chase success. You embody it.